Men, pay attention. There are certain things you should never do for a woman if you want to maintain respect, attraction, and your emotional authority. In the modern dating world, giving too much too soon, bending over backward, or compromising your standards can destroy attraction and leave you being taken for granted. Women notice how much you are willing to bend, and they instinctively respond to energy, boundaries, and consistency rather than words alone. Too many men make the mistake of trying to earn affection by doing everything for a woman, constant favors, emotional overinvestment, or abandoning their own priorities. These actions might feel like love or commitment, but in reality, they communicate neediness, lack of standards, and low authority. Women are drawn to men who have boundaries, value themselves, and operate from a position of strength. In this video, we're breaking down 10 things men should never do for a woman. Behaviors that silently reduce attraction, invite manipulation, or undermine your position in the relationship dynamic. Each of these points is rooted in female psychology and modern dating realities. By understanding and avoiding these mistakes, you protect your energy, maintain respect, and create a dynamic where your value is recognized rather than assumed. This isn't about being cold or unkind. It's about leading interactions, setting standards, and ensuring that your efforts are valued rather than exploited. Men who master this concept attract women who respect their boundaries, appreciate their energy, and align with their values. 1. Dropping everything for her. Men. The first thing you should never do for a woman is drop everything in your life for her. Canceling plans, neglecting responsibilities, or abandoning your goals to cater to her requests signals neediness, low standards, and a lack of personal authority. Women are instinctively drawn to men with their own lives, priorities, and purpose. When you make her your center at the expense of yourself, attraction diminishes immediately. This mistake often begins subtly. A woman may suggest an activity or favor at the last minute, and a man who says yes without hesitation appears too available. Over time, consistently prioritizing her over your own schedule signals desperation rather than commitment. Women notice energy, not words, and excessive availability communicates that your value is contingent on her attention. The key is balance. You can engage, invest, and support, but always on your terms and without sacrificing your own priorities. Maintaining your schedule, pursuing your goals, and keeping commitments outside the relationship signals independence, self-respect, and authority. These qualities are magnetic because they demonstrate that your life is full and valuable even without her approval. Another subtle point is how you respond to last-minute requests. Calmly assessing whether it aligns with your priorities before agreeing demonstrates intentionality and strength. Women notice men who operate from clarity and composure rather than reacting impulsively to their desires. This creates attraction because it reinforces your energy as non-negotiable. Dropping everything also undermines long-term respect. When a man consistently prioritizes a woman over himself, she begins to expect it. This erodes boundaries and invites repeated testing. Attraction is fueled by challenge, energy management, and emotional authority, not by over-accommodation. Finally, dropping everything signals insecurity. Women are drawn to men who have control over their time and energy. When you maintain autonomy and resist the impulse to bend for every request, you demonstrate leadership in your own life and reinforce her respect. Men who master this principle protect their time, reinforce their boundaries, and maintain attraction. Support and presence are valuable, but they must never come at the cost of your goals, energy, or self-respect. Women notice, consciously or unconsciously, and respond to men who have their own life, purpose, and authority. 2. Giving unconditional validation. Men. The second thing you should never do for a woman is give unconditional validation. Complimenting her excessively, agreeing with everything she says, or constantly seeking to reassure her can destroy attraction and subtly shift the power dynamic in her favor. Women are attracted to confidence, not approval-seeking behavior. When you validate unconditionally, you communicate low standards and dependency on her approval. This mistake often happens early in dating. A man wants to show he cares, so he showers her with compliments, agrees with every opinion, or over-explains himself to avoid conflict. While it may feel like charm or affection, this behavior signals that your energy and self-esteem are tied to her reaction. Women subconsciously detect this and begin testing limits or losing respect. The key is strategic validation. Compliment selectively, praise effort or character rather than superficial traits, and maintain authenticity. Your attention should be earned and valued, not given automatically. Women are drawn to men whose confidence and energy are independent of their approval. It communicates strength and authority. Another critical aspect is maintaining honesty. Don't pretend to agree or inflate praise just to please her. Women instinctively detect insincerity. Strategic measured validation signals intelligence, discernment, and self-respect. It shows that your energy is valuable and not freely available for manipulation. Unconditional validation also undermines attraction over time. When you constantly reassure or placate, she may take your presence for granted. It diminishes your authority and encourages testing of boundaries. Attraction thrives on respect, challenge, and measured energy, not on endless affirmation. Finally, giving unconditional validation affects your long-term dynamics. Women who are repeatedly validated without reciprocation or respect may drift into entitlement, expecting your energy to be freely given. Maintaining selective attention and measured validation preserves attraction, respect, and alignment. Men who master this principle maintain authority, emotional independence, and value in the dynamic. Women respond positively to men who give attention strategically, reinforce boundaries, and avoid unnecessary over-validation. Confidence, discernment, and selective praise create attraction and ensure your energy is respected rather than exploited. 3. Ignoring your own needs. Men, the third thing you should never do for a woman is ignore your own needs. Putting her comfort, desires, or happiness consistently above your own signals, low standards, and lack of self-respect. Women are instinctively drawn to men who prioritize their own energy, goals, and well-being first, not those who sacrifice themselves to earn approval or affection. This mistake often appears as over-accommodation. A man may cancel plans with friends, skip workouts, or compromise personal goals just to please a woman. While it might feel like devotion, the underlying message is that your life revolves around her reactions and desires. Attraction is fueled by self-respect, purpose, and independence, all of which are undermined when your needs are secondary. The key is maintaining balance. You can invest in the relationship and support her, but never at the cost of your energy, goals, or well-being. Prioritizing your needs signals confidence and authority. It communicates that your value is not contingent on her attention or approval, and this naturally increases respect and attraction. Another aspect is emotional boundaries. Ignoring your own needs often leads to resentment or passive-aggressive behavior later. Women notice subtle energy shifts and interpret them unconsciously. A man who maintains his emotional and physical standards avoids unnecessary tension and preserves long-term alignment. Ignoring your needs also undermines long-term respect. Women instinctively sense when a man is easily manipulated or overly pliable. Consistently putting her first without reciprocation signals low value, making it more likely she will test boundaries or push limits. Attraction thrives when energy is balanced and intentionally invested, not freely given at the expense of your own priorities. Practical examples include maintaining your hobbies, routines, and social life while still engaging with her. Do not compromise workouts, work goals, or personal projects to accommodate her whims. Instead, involve her where appropriate, but keep your life intact. This communicates independence, confidence, and self-respect, all of which are magnetically attractive. Finally, understanding this principle protects your emotional and physical energy. Men who prioritize their own needs without guilt maintain authority, attract alignment, and prevent manipulation. Women respond positively when your energy is intentional, your boundaries are respected, and your priorities are clear. Men who master this principle do not lose themselves in pursuit of a woman. They lead their own lives, protect their energy, and maintain standards. Women instinctively respect and align with men who prioritize themselves. It creates balance, attraction, and long-term stability in modern dating dynamics. 4. Paying for everything. Men, the fourth thing you should never do for a woman is pay for everything. Covering every meal, date, or expense may feel like generosity, but in reality, it can signal low standards, over-availability, and a lack of self-respect. Women notice energy and boundaries far more than money, and consistently paying for everything can shift the dynamic so that your value is assumed rather than earned. This mistake often starts subtly. A man may insist on covering bills or providing gifts to impress or gain affection. While this can feel like confidence or care, it risks creating entitlement. Over time, women may begin to expect your resources automatically, rather than valuing your presence, effort, or attention. Attraction diminishes when energy is freely given without alignment or reciprocity. The key is balance and intentionality. Invest strategically. Pay when it aligns with your energy and standards, not out of fear, guilt, or compulsion. Allow her to contribute, share expenses, or reciprocate in meaningful ways. This signals equality, respect, and mutual investment, which preserves attraction and demonstrates emotional intelligence. Another critical point is perception. Women subconsciously evaluate whether a man's resources, attention, or energy are conditional or freely given. Men who maintain intentional generosity communicate authority and value. Men who give indiscriminately communicate availability and lack of standards, which decreases respect and opens the door for repeated testing or manipulation. Paying for everything also undermines your long-term authority in the dynamic. When women are never required to invest, the balance of energy tilts. This can lead to entitlement, boundary testing, and reduced attraction. Relationships thrive when effort is mutual and energy is intentionally shared, not one-sided. Practical application. Set clear expectations early. Suggest splitting certain activities, alternate paying for meals, or creating mutual contributions. Your calm authority communicates that your energy is valuable and not automatically given, reinforcing attraction and respect. Finally, this principle protects your emotional and financial energy. Men who invest strategically maintain boundaries, reinforce standards, and preserve long-term attraction. Women notice instinctively when your generosity is measured, intentional, and aligned with your values. It signals confidence, autonomy, and authority. Men who master this principle avoid over-accommodation, maintain respect, and preserve their energy. Paying thoughtfully, rather than automatically, ensures that your presence, attention, and resources are valued rather than taken for granted. Women instinctively align with men who maintain authority, boundaries, and intentional investment in modern dating dynamics. 5. Overtexting or overcalling men. The fifth thing you should never do for a woman is overtexting or overcalling. Constantly messaging, checking in, or seeking reassurance may feel like attentiveness, but in female psychology, it signals neediness, low standards, and a lack of confidence. Women are drawn to men who have their own lives and energy, not men who are emotionally dependent on their attention. This mistake often starts subtly. A man may text multiple times in a row if she doesn't respond quickly, or call repeatedly to maintain engagement. While this feels like showing interest, it communicates desperation and makes you easily replaceable in her perception. Energy is key. Over-communication diminishes attraction faster than lack of attention ever could. The solution is controlled presence. Communicate intentionally, not impulsively. Allow her to respond on her own schedule without pressure or follow-ups that signal anxiety. A calm, deliberate pace communicates confidence, autonomy, and emotional stability, all highly attractive traits. Another aspect is content. Over-texting often includes explanations, over-justifications, or attempts to entertain. Women notice when a man's attention is tied to validation or approval. Strategic, concise messages that reflect your value and personality demonstrate authority without overexposure. Less is more. Scarcity amplifies attraction. This behavior also tests boundaries. Women may unconsciously assess whether you allow your energy to be drained through constant communication. Men who resist over-texting maintain standards and self-respect, signaling that their time and attention are valuable. Conversely, over-communicating creates a dynamic where she controls your emotional availability, undermining attraction. Timing and energy are critical. Respond thoughtfully, with clarity, and on your own terms. Avoid chasing, justifying, or pleading for engagement. Calm detachment combined with selective attention reinforces authority and establishes a dynamic where your value is recognized rather than assumed. Finally, understanding over-texting as a behavior to avoid protects your emotional energy and maintains respect. Women instinctively respond to men who manage their presence intentionally. Strategic communication builds anticipation, reinforces attraction, and ensures alignment of energy and intentions. Men who master this principle maintain composure, authority, and energy balance in modern dating dynamics. They communicate strategically, invest attention intentionally, and avoid being manipulated through overexposure. Women notice and align with men who control their availability, respect their own energy, and lead the interaction with confidence. 6. Chasing her approval. Men, the sixth thing you should never do for a woman is chase her approval. Seeking constant validation, reassurance, or praise communicates insecurity and low standards. Women are attracted to confidence, authority, and self-respect, not men who rely on their approval to feel validated. Chasing approval erodes attraction and shifts the energy balance in her favor. This mistake often appears as over-explaining, apologizing unnecessarily, or constantly trying to prove your worth. Many men believe that demonstrating effort or compliance will increase her affection, but the opposite happens. Women subconsciously sense desperation and lack of internal validation, which decreases respect and undermines long-term attraction. The solution is internal validation. Your self-worth should come from your values, actions, and standards, not from her responses or acknowledgement. Engage, show interest, and invest where appropriate, but never hinge your confidence on her approval. This communicates strength, authority, and self-respect, which are inherently attractive. Chasing approval also reduces your influence. Women instinctively test how much a man seeks their validation. Over-investing to please signals malleability and low authority. Conversely, a man who maintains composure, enforces boundaries, and operates from internal validation naturally commands respect and attraction without manipulation. Another critical point is selective engagement. You don't need to seek validation for small things, overreact to critiques, or compete for attention. Calmly assert your perspective and align actions with your standards. Women respond to men whose energy is consistent, deliberate, and independent of their responses. Energy and tone are crucial. When you chase approval, your communication often becomes reactive, anxious, or overly accommodating. Maintaining calm, intentional energy demonstrates authority and reinforces the dynamic where respect and attraction are earned rather than given automatically. Finally, understanding this principle protects your emotional energy and establishes long-term standards in interactions. Women who respect your internal validation and composure signal alignment, maturity, and emotional intelligence. Those who attempt to manipulate or undermine your confidence reveal potential for conflict or imbalance. Men who master this principle operate from authority, composure, and self-respect. They engage intentionally, protect their emotional energy, and attract women who align with their values. Chasing approval is unnecessary. Internal confidence and deliberate energy create attraction, respect, and a healthy dynamic that strengthens over time. 7. Solving all her problems. Men, the seventh thing you should never do for a woman is solve all her problems. Jumping in to fix everything, from minor inconveniences to major life challenges, signals overinvestment, lack of boundaries, and low standards. Women are drawn to men who provide stability, guidance, and leadership, not men who become doormats for emotional or practical labor. This mistake often starts innocently. A man sees her struggling or stressed and immediately tries to rescue her, offer solutions, or take on her responsibilities. While it may feel protective, the subconscious message is that your value is tied to her problems rather than your own purpose, confidence, and energy. Women sense this instinctively, and attraction diminishes when a man overextends himself unnecessarily. The solution is selective support. Offer guidance, perspective, or assistance when appropriate, but never take over completely or sacrifice your priorities. Leadership comes from calm authority and discernment, not from performing every task or solving every issue. Maintaining this balance demonstrates strength, competence, and emotional intelligence. Another key point is emotional distinction. Many men blur the line between empathy and problem solving. You can listen, validate, and provide perspective without taking responsibility for her emotional state. This preserves your energy and authority while still demonstrating care and attentiveness. Women respond positively when your support is measured, intentional, and aligned with your standards. Solving all her problems also undermines boundaries. Women may unconsciously test whether your energy is limitless, taking advantage of your willingness to overstep. Over time, repeated rescue behavior can lead to entitlement, decreased respect, and imbalance in the dynamic. Attraction thrives when effort is mutual, energy is respected, and boundaries are maintained. Practical application. Listen actively, acknowledge her challenges, and offer solutions only when appropriate. Encourage her agency and decision-making. Maintain your priorities, goals, and emotional stability while providing support selectively. This approach signals confidence, authority, and intentionality. Finally, understanding this principle protects your energy, maintains respect, and reinforces attraction. Women instinctively recognize when a man leads from purpose rather than desperation. Selective support demonstrates value without enabling dependence, creating a dynamic where boundaries are respected and alignment is reinforced. Men who master this principle maintain authority, protect their energy, and foster healthy, balanced interactions. Women are drawn to men who provide guidance without overinvestment, support without overextending, and leadership without surrendering their own priorities. Solving all her problems is unnecessary. Intentional presence, selective guidance, and composure build respect, trust, and long-term attraction. 8. Sacrificing your standards. Men, the eighth thing you should never do for a woman is sacrifice your standards, compromising on your values, principles, or expectations to please her signals low self-respect and undermines attraction. Women are drawn to men who hold firm to their standards, maintain boundaries, and operate from a position of authority, not those who bend to appease or avoid conflict. This mistake often shows up subtly. A man might agree to things he doesn't believe in, tolerate behavior that makes him uncomfortable, or change his routines just to avoid tension or gain approval. While it may seem like flexibility or compromise, women subconsciously perceive it as weakness. Over time, consistently lowering your standards erodes respect and invites repeated testing or manipulation. The solution is unwavering alignment with your principles. Your standards define your energy and authority. Stand firm in your expectations for respect, behavior, and interaction. When a woman sees that you will not compromise on what matters to you, it communicates confidence, value, and leadership, all traits that fuel attraction naturally. Another aspect is discernment. Sacrificing standards often comes from fear of conflict, insecurity, or desire to be liked. Instead, make decisions based on your values and long-term goals, not momentary approval. Women notice when your choices are deliberate, intentional, and consistent. This reinforces your authority and protects your energy. Maintaining standards also protects long-term respect. Women test boundaries repeatedly, often subtly, to gauge whether you will maintain composure and authority. Men who consistently enforce their standards pass these tests effortlessly, while those who bend create patterns of entitlement and diminished attraction. Practical application. Identify your non-negotiables, values, goals, behavior standards, and energy boundaries, and make decisions that align with them. Communicate clearly when a line is crossed and enforce it calmly but firmly. Do not justify, apologize unnecessarily, or compromise your position. Your energy, boundaries, and choices communicate your value far more effectively than words. Finally, understanding this principle ensures that women respect your authority, align with your standards, and respond positively to your energy. Sacrificing standards may feel like cooperation, but it diminishes attraction, erodes respect, and opens the door to manipulation. Maintaining them consistently strengthens your influence, preserves your energy, and creates a dynamic where alignment, respect, and attraction flourish. Men who master this principle operate from purpose, authority, and composure. Women instinctively recognize strength and alignment, adjusting their behavior to match your energy. Sacrificing standards is never necessary. Firm boundaries, consistency, and deliberate choices protect your energy and foster long-term attraction and respect in modern dating dynamics. 9. Over-explaining yourself. Men, the ninth thing you should never do for a woman is over-explaining yourself. Trying to justify every action, thought, or decision signals insecurity and low authority. Women are drawn to men who act deliberately, communicate clearly, and maintain composure without excessive rationalization. Over-explaining erodes respect and reduces attraction because it communicates that your energy is negotiable or dependent on her approval. This mistake often appears when a man anticipates judgment or conflict. He might over-clarify why he did something, over-apologize for minor mistakes, or go into unnecessary detail to earn understanding. While it may feel like transparency or honesty, the subconscious effect is weakness. Women notice energy, not intention, and excessive explanation communicates doubt and over-availability. The solution is deliberate communication. Say what needs to be said concisely, without over-justification. Stand by your choices with calm authority and allow your actions to speak for themselves. Women sense confidence in men who do not seek constant validation or approval through words. Your energy, consistency, and presence are far more persuasive than lengthy explanations. Another subtle point is timing and context. Over-explaining often occurs in response to minor challenges or tests. A woman might subtly question a choice or opinion to see if you will waver. Men who respond with calm clarity, without overcomplicating, pass these silent tests. Men who over-explain create patterns of neediness and lowered authority. Over-explaining also undermines boundaries. Women subconsciously test whether your energy and decisions are flexible to suit their reactions. Maintaining composure and avoiding unnecessary rationalization signals that your standards, priorities, and choices are non-negotiable. This builds respect and reinforces attraction. Practical application. Decide what is important to communicate and leave the rest unsaid. If challenged, respond calmly, briefly, and confidently. Avoid defensive explanations, over-apologizing, or justifying beyond necessity. Your calm energy signals strength, authority, and value, while over-explaining signals weakness and reduces respect. Finally, understanding this principle protects your emotional energy and preserves attraction. Women instinctively recognize men who communicate intentionally versus those who are reactive or insecure. Over-explaining may feel like connection or cooperation, but it diminishes authority, respect, and long-term influence. Men who master this principle maintain composure, enforce boundaries, and communicate clearly without overcompensation. Women instinctively align with men whose energy is deliberate, confident, and non-negotiable. Avoid over-explaining, and you preserve attraction, respect, and authority in every interaction. 10. Compromising your time. Men, the 10th and final thing you should never do for a woman is compromise your time. Time is your most valuable resource. Your energy, goals, and priorities are tied to how you allocate it. Sacrificing it excessively for a woman signals low standards, over-availability, and lack of authority. Women are drawn to men who manage their time deliberately and protect their energy, not men who make themselves constantly accessible. This mistake often starts subtly. A man may cancel commitments, skip personal responsibilities, or rearrange his life repeatedly to accommodate her schedule or whims. While this may feel like devotion, the subconscious message is that your priorities are flexible and your energy is negotiable. Over time, attraction diminishes and respect erodes when women sense a lack of intentionality in how you manage your time. The solution is intentional allocation. Protect your schedule and invest your time based on alignment, value, and mutual respect. Engage when it suits your priorities and energy, not simply to appease or please her. Women instinctively recognize men who respect their own time and energy, perceiving them as higher value and more attractive. Another critical point is boundary reinforcement. Compromising your time excessively often invites repeated testing. Women may subconsciously assess whether you will sacrifice your priorities, cancel commitments, or overextend yourself for their benefit. Men who maintain boundaries calmly and consistently pass these tests effortlessly, while those who acquiesce signal weakness and invite manipulation. Practical application. Schedule interactions deliberately, maintain personal commitments, and resist over-accommodation. If a woman requests something that conflicts with your priorities, respond with calm authority and offer alternatives rather than surrendering your time. This communicates strength, self-respect, and leadership in your own life. Compromising time also impacts long-term attraction and energy. Men who consistently overextend become emotionally and physically drained, reducing confidence, composure, and authority. Women sense this shift in energy and may lose respect or perceive dependency. Strategic time management preserves energy while maintaining attraction and influence in the dynamic. Finally, understanding this principle protects your most valuable asset, your time, while reinforcing authority, composure, and value. Women respond positively to men who prioritize their own life, maintain balance, and allocate time intentionally. Those who respect your boundaries demonstrate alignment and maturity, while those who push or disregard them reveal traits that may cause tension or imbalance. Men who master this principle protect energy, maintain standards, and operate from authority. They attract women who value their presence, align with their priorities, and respect boundaries. Compromising time is never necessary. Deliberate allocation, composure, and self-respect create respect, attraction, and long-term alignment in modern dating dynamics. Men, now you know the 10 things you should never do for a woman. Dropping everything for her, giving unconditional validation, ignoring your own needs, paying for everything, over-texting or over-calling, chasing her approval, solving all her problems, sacrificing your standards, over-explaining yourself, and compromising your time. Each one is a subtle trap that diminishes respect, lowers attraction, and shifts authority away from you if not managed correctly. These behaviors often feel natural or even generous, but the modern dating dynamic operates on energy, boundaries, and psychological perception. Women instinctively notice how a man values his time, energy, and standards, not just his words or intentions. Over-accommodation, over-investment, or bending to appease communicates insecurity and weak authority. Attraction thrives on confidence, composure, and intentionality, not desperation or over-effort. Understanding these 10 principles allows you to protect your energy, enforce boundaries, and maintain authority in all interactions. Each time you resist a trap, whether it's giving unconditional validation, over-explaining, or compromising your time, you reinforce your value and communicate that your energy is not freely available. Women respond instinctively to men who operate from purpose, clarity, and self-respect. Consistency is key. Women may test these boundaries repeatedly, subtly, or overtly to see whether your energy is negotiable. Men who maintain composure, enforce standards, and operate intentionally pass these tests effortlessly, preserving attraction, respect, and long-term alignment. Those who repeatedly give too much or overextend themselves invite manipulation, entitlement, and erosion of authority. Ultimately, mastering these 10 behaviors is about leading your own life while engaging intentionally with women. You can care, support, and invest, but always on your terms. Women instinctively align with men who protect their energy, enforce boundaries, and maintain composure. They are naturally drawn to authority, stability, and consistency. Observe your interactions, maintain your standards, and act deliberately. Avoid the traps that weaken your authority, drain your energy, or diminish respect. Doing so ensures that your presence is valued, your energy is protected, and your relationships are built on alignment rather than desperation. Master these principles, and you will attract women who respect, align with, and appreciate the man you are, confident, composed, and in control of his life.